6:30 p.m. Let's call this meeting to order.
A motion to accept the agenda?
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded.
Okay. Mutano and Shinabar, thank you. Any discussion on the agenda? Nope. Okay. We'll accept that, approve the agenda. All right, is anyone in the room for public forum?
No, there's not. There is
No.
someone online, however.
Of course, okay. Rob, can you take care of whoever is online for their comments, please?
Sure thing. Kelly Devine, you're up in queue.
Thank you, Rob. Kelly Devine, I'm the Executive Director of the Burlington Business Association, here to speak about the memo related to parking changes. First, I want to thank Chapin and Jackie for taking the time to meet with me. I thought it was a very productive conversation. As some of you may know, we worked very collaboratively on parking, up till a couple of years ago, and I always found that collaboration to be really productive. I have reviewed the memo that Jackie submitted, and have to say that while I don't have particularly I'm not here to speak out against the rate changes. We did work together, I think, and come up with something that makes sense in the short term. And also that, they did alert the hotels as well. I just wanted to take an opportunity to say that I think that what we're seeing in parking is really indicative of the fact that people are not coming downtown, and people that previously were working downtown aren't coming back to those parking passes that were in the garage. Pre-pandemic, the parking fund was in really good shape financially. Then the pandemic hit. I know that while it wasn't necessarily DPW's policy decision when, we were operating a parking system, but we kept the staff on, it really did draw down the fund pretty substantially. I know that that's been backfilled by ARPA funds, but I do think that going forward that while I'm excited to continue to work with the DPW team to try to come up with some creative solutions to this, I don't think that the solution really necessarily lies with rates. As I've told Chapin and Jackie, I think people have a lot of reasons not to come downtown now. And, when people aren't using your product, you don't usually go up on the price. So I think we need to get creative on how we use parking among other tools to provide an incentive for people to visit Burlington, to continue to have office space in Burlington. We have had some really productive conversations that I hope when they're presented, the commission will consider relative to coming up with some more parking permit tools or options that fit this new reality of office workers in town. Now, not a lot of people anymore are coming in 5 days a week, every week of the month. People's habits have changed substantially. And I think you're seeing that in the memo there with that, over $700,000 shortfall in parking permits. So I want to be able to work together with you guys and with the team on that. I'm excited to do that. Jackie's been great. I'm very open to it. And so that's my sort of general opinion. On more specificity, when I looked at the memo and the ordinance change, the one suggested change that I would have is, I think in the marketplace garage, to go from, charging a gradated rate up to 7 hours and then jumping to $14. It's in, I don't know that I have a version here that has numbered lines like you see at City Council, but it talks about it being $8 up to 6 hours, $9 up to 7 hours, and then it jumps to 14. And I would ask that the commission consider something similar to what's in the language above for the Lakeview garage, which is, you're charging for that, a different rate for that eighth hour and that ninth hour, and then over 10 hours, you get to $14. Because I think for someone from 9 to 7, that's going to be kind of shocking. I'll add one more thing. I'm myself and business folks downtown are supportive of consideration of a future discussion about charging on Sundays. Thank you.
And that's all that's in
Hey,
queue.
thank you, Kelly, for those comments. Anyone else?
That's all that's in queue.
Okay. Great. Then we will go ahead and close public forum. All right, now we have the consent agenda. A motion to approve the consent agenda with the updated note that came in this afternoon with the items, the modification of line 245 and line 35 that were noted in the amended piece on the IAA parking.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Great, thank you. Barr and Hogan, any discussion? Nope. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any abstentions or things, or nays? No? All right, the consent agenda passed. Okay. All right, item 5, off-street parking rate changes. We have a presentation from Jackie and Chapin on this.
That's correct. Thank you so much, Chair O'Neill Vivanco, Chapin Spencer, Director of Public Works, and I'm joined here with Jackie Esperti, who has a short presentation, kind of modified a bit from last month. And then, she and I are receptive to the comments that that Ms. Devine has made from the Burlington Business Association. So Jackie will have some revised proposal language.
Can you promote me?
I did, you should have the option.
Oh,
Did it not show up?
no.
Let's try it.
There
Got
you
it.
go. One moment while we get the presentation up. You may need to go to Zoom and share your screen. Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. Good evening. So we wanted to talk about some off-street changes post our meeting from last month. Just some information prior to COVID that Budget 265, which covers the garages and the lots, had a fund balance and there's a deficit now. These rates have not been changed since July of 2014. We are controlling expenses as much as possible, but we have had to increase things such as security, just as an example, from $90,000 to $300,000 for fiscal year #24. This is just an overview of the funds. The lots and the 2 garages are a part of this one. And this is 45% through the fiscal year. The outlook of revenues, if it were to continue as it is now, not looking great. And so changes from the last time, we took out some of the proposals based on some feedback that we received. And so we're looking to adjust the max daily rate at both garages. Downtown garage would move from $8 to $12, and Marketplace would move from $10 to $14. And adjusting the monthly permit rates, we're looking to increase by $4 per permit at the downtown garage, which is 80 to 84 for the 5-day permits and 96 to 100 for the 6-day permits. And Marketplace Garage, we're looking to increase that from 96 to 120. The reason for that is because we do have a long wait list. That lot is full. We have a wait list. We know that that's really premium parking, so that's why we're looking to increase that one more. Engagement and feedback. So I reached out to all of the permit holders in both of the garages via email 2 times. We put banners on the websites that we have, DPW and Park Burlington. I also emailed some of the key stakeholders. So all 2 of the hotels, which would be directly affected by this. And like Kelly said, we met and spoke about how some of the other businesses would take this. We are looking at other options with either Park Mobile or the AIM system that we have for kind of a hybrid work schedule. So it's a, punch card sort of option instead of 5 days a week, because a lot of people do work Tuesday through Saturday or something different, or only 3 days a week. So we're looking into those options. And I did email you a short while ago the one piece of feedback that we received from one of the hotels. A little bit of pushback, but they do understand. We meet with them often, every quarter, regarding the security in the garage. So this is something that I think they were expecting, but I didn't have the opportunity to sit down with them. So we're looking to implement these changes as early in 2024 as possible. We do plan to, I know a lot of the feedback that we received last meeting was on-street changes. So we're collecting data on that first before we implement any changes or propose any. So coming soon. Any questions?
What was the increase in security again?
We increased from 90,000 to 300,000. And I guess we did take, from what Kelly said, definitely a good idea for the kind of implementing different hours. So I'd like to change in section 19B9, increasing from $9 up to 7 hours, and just implement $2 increases. So $11 for 8 hours, $13 for 9 hours, and then the $14 would be 10 hours plus. That's for the Marketplace Garage.
I have a question. Hi, sorry I missed last week, or last month. So if the demand is not there, at what point do you think about other uses for that space or those buildings?
Yeah, it's a good question, Commissioner Sears. I think at this point we are looking at a multitude of strategies from, as Kelly Devine had suggested, a more flexible product. We're also looking at overnight products for area residential uses. In Marketplace right now, we're limited to only parking for up to 24 hours or 48?
48.
48 in Marketplace. So that really limits someone who might have a residential unit nearby and, is gone for the weekend. We shouldn't be wholesale preventing residential overnight use when we have capacity. The problem is residential folks do park throughout the day, many days of the week, if they're retired or they don't use their car a lot. So we don't want to just give away the Marketplace, which is our most highest demand garage, to storing of cars long term. So we're going to have to figure out the proper balance of how to accept in these residential uses. But we are looking at new products, new offerings, so that we can better utilize our structures.
Okay. Commissioner Mutano, go to you. Do you have any questions?
Where to start? I mean, I support the amendment, actually expanding it out to 10 hours before kind of capping it at the max rate, keeping it as linear as we can. That said, there's still certainly a lot of people driving into Burlington each day. I know every time I'm walking down Main Street, right about 5 o'clock, there is a ton of people still, coming into Burlington for regular working hours. And as we're looking forward more on the timescale of years, right, looking ahead, especially since some of these parking lots are reaching, or garages are reaching the end of their lifespan, that we really consider how we're going to be using these spaces, because this is still like a modern American city. Like the way like traffic is flowing is such that, well, there's still a lot of people driving, and one way that we in the future might be discouraging that when there are viable alternatives is, well, raising the rate at which it costs to park. But I don't know. It's a lot of work to actually really implement those alternatives. And as a commissioner, definitely thinking through how the actual parking fund, right, the parking division, as well as other aspects of public works and public transportation all come together to really serve the city best is certainly something that I want us to be doing. Really, as far as a place, right, Church Street Marketplace is a world-class destination. There are people traveling really long distances to come here and visit and stay in those hotels and catch the view of the sunset and shop on Church Street and really just be there in the place. So I'm not against raising the rate at all. I mean, it's really minor. Really, as the Main Street sort of kind of corridor really comes in, and we're welcoming more people coming by train as well, that certainly could alleviate some of the people that are parking in that lot and staying in the hotels. Really, they're going to be getting a very different vantage of the city at that point. But in short, I have no issue raising the rates of parking as, I don't know, kind of a vice tax. Driving in is a little bit of a vice. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Barr, any comments on parking?
Oh, yeah, sure. I always have comments on parking. And I understand, coming from my experience, that having the income from the parking is extremely important. And with the downturn of people coming in and getting less money, to be able to offer the same services, we do need to increase it. So I'm supportive of that. Normally, and I agree with Commissioner Patano that using parking rates as a TDM measure to try and reduce cars and promote transportation and use of public transit is one of the best things you can do when there's such a high demand. And unfortunately now there's not such a high demand, so we're stuck between a rock and a hard place here. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that hopefully Burlington is going to turn around and things are going to come back, and there are going to be people that need to come in and people that do need to park. Not everybody needs to drive, but those that do need to park will come in, and hopefully we won't be raising rates again on them as soon as we get them back. But other than that, I support the amendment that you made. If you could, when it comes time, give the verbiage for it. But,
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Fox, any comments?
A few, nothing wild. I'll just add, I'm really glad to hear that the department is working with Ames and Park Mobile on the new parking products, as you stated, because I think, with all this parking tech that we have, there's definitely a way to make products that are more appealing to hybrid workers, right? So that maybe it can be an option where they pay as they go. So they're only paying, right, like for the days that they're coming in to park at the garage, and then they're not paying one bulk price for the permit. I don't know. So I'm just, I'm supportive of that creative thinking generally. So happy to hear that. And then, we went over a lot of the details of this at our last meeting, and I'm generally supportive of the rate change, and I think that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Fox. I'm just going to circle back to Commissioner Sears because you had a question early on, but then I didn't circle back to see if you had finished. Sorry.
Thanks.
You to be fast.
Yeah, I finished. I think it's worth keeping
Okay.
an eye on. I don't know how long we want to subsidize our parking garages in this city. So I don't know if you want a timeline on that or just looking ahead. It seems like some contingency plan is needed.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. Yes, we do expect to be back in the next few months once we've done the off-street and on-street data collection to really understand trends and have more time to work with the clerk treasurer's office. The Parking Facilities Fund, thanks to our work to improve the garages, has about $2.5 million of debt. And so we have had to bring that debt in-house, held by the city, because we could not meet debt coverage ratios with the depleted fund balance and the lack of revenue coming in. So we have debt that's being held by the city. We do have an income problem, or at least a revenue problem. We're trying to trim expenses as well, but we are going to be back likely with some additional rate adjustments, new product, and hopefully, some planning that you all can see about how we are going to get the ship back on firm financial ground. This is not where we wanted to be. I spent the first 7 years of my tenure here rebuilding the fund balance as it was depleted when I came in. We were doing fine until we hit COVID, and then we lost it. So we now have to rebuild.
Thank you. Commissioner Hogan, any comments?
Good evening. Yeah, could you clarify for me when you say that the security budget piece has gone up from 90,000 to, I think I had 270,000 written down before. You mentioned 300,000 roughly. Is that in the last year or since 2014, the last time the rates
That's
went up?
budgeted fiscal year '24. So that's what our budgeted expense is for this fiscal year.
When was the last time it was 90,000?
Last year, I think.
Yeah, I will need to go back and look. It's possible that we budgeted last year for, the 90, but spent, 120. I don't have the actuals in front of me. It is a significant increase. We are trying to be responsive to the downtown community during this time. We do have 3 different structures, 2 of which are co-joined, many levels. We're trying to be as visible as possible.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think that would be a welcomed expense or investment for all of us. Thank you. I have a question on the comments from Hotel Vermont regarding I guess there's had some pain points with the existing permit structure. Could you speak to, I know you've been mentioning that you're considering other, more flexible products. Is some of that, is this a known problem, or is that some of the flexibility you're considering?
Hans at our last meeting, he spoke about that because they do have some employees that work the Tuesday through Saturday or, Monday through Friday some weeks. So we're working on that, with them in mind. They pay $4, so they pay half of the daily rate for their overnight customers. So for one overnight, if you were staying Tuesday to Wednesday, they pay $4 for your vehicle to be there for both days.
Mm-hmm.
So their rates on that would go up. Does that answer your question?
I think so, and it seems like the nature of the concern was regarding employee parking.
Yeah, I
That's what I'm
think
getting
it
out of this
seemed like
email.
both, when in his email, the top part was the 50% increase, $4 to $6 for
Mhm.
that, and then the bottom, so we had spoke about that in November, so hopefully we can implement, I'm working with Park Mobile to implement something, and then further down the road, we hope to do something a little bit better with Ames.
Yeah, okay. No, thank you for that, and thank you for your work on it, and what's obvious is the partnership with the business community and other stakeholders in town. It's clearly that we are, we need that partnership, obviously.
Yeah.
Thank you. My comments, most everyone has said what I probably was going to say anyway. I do support the rate increase. I feel like we do. Burlington is. We're going to recover from this moment in time. The moment in time being COVID, compounded by a lot of the drug and crime that's going on right now. But I think the investment in the increased security in the garages is really important. And charging, updating the rates from 2014 is important. That said, I agree with the comments on moving away from the one size solution and looking into what are the hybrid options? How can we really maximize that? It's really valuable real estate downtown. So how do we have that dynamic movement of vehicles, while also perhaps, as Director Spencer mentioned, not just warehousing residential vehicles, but allowing some creative solutions to provide parking for those in the downtown area who don't have access to some parking. And I think, a concern we talked about last month is, concern about the hourly workers, making sure that those staff folks who are working have access to, if they have to drive, access to safe parking in this time period that we're in right now, and a flexible enough fee structure that they can afford to park there and earn a living. So I appreciate that flexibility. And again, I am supportive of the rate increase. So that's it on my end. All right, any comments from the public now?
So are you here for this agenda item? No? Okay.
We do not have anyone signed up in queue.
Okay. All right, so we have an action to approve this rate change. However, I'm wondering if you can either put it on the slide or read the modification that came in that you mentioned at the start of the slideshow.
Yes, so, under Marketplace Garage, section 9, I'll read from kind of halfway down. It says $6 up to 4 hours, $7 up to 5 hours, $8 up to 6 hours, $9 up to 7 hours. We would amend and add $11 up to 8 hours, $13 up to 9 hours, and maximum daily rate of $14 after 10 hours.
Okay. So it's still the maximum rate, but just that it's a little bit more gradual over the time period.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. All right, commissioners, is that all clear? Okay, so a motion to approve staff recommendation for the off-street parking rate changes with the amended language.
Point of clarification.
Go ahead.
So this actual resolution that is attached to this agenda item that we have friendly amended right now is going to be referred to City Council to actually enact. So really our action is to refer this item to City Council, if I understand correctly. And we are essentially the sponsor as the commission of the Department of Public Works.
This is seeking your action. This does not need City Council action. This is in Appendix C of the ordinance, which is able to be adjusted by you all.
Right, so essentially, we are enacting this
Yes.
Appendix C change
Correct.
by this action, by
Yes.
approving the staff's recommendation.
Correct.
With the amendments that we just approved here.
Thank you. Sorry
All
if
right,
I misunderstood.
okay, just like clarifying, like for
Yes.
everyone. Yeah, I know it's all in the charter somewhere, exactly where this falls in. But yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you.
The language that we have in the packet is move to adopt the City of Burlington ordinance changes related to adjusted rates in the city's municipal garages as detailed in the attached document. So we're referring to the detail that was actually communicated verbally in this presentation,
Precisely.
right? Okay.
I move exactly that.
You moved exactly that.
Exactly. Not sort of
Is there a
that.
second? A second?
A second.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Mutano and Commissioner Barr. Any discussion? Approval? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? No? Okay, I for myself, that motion approves unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that piece is closed. Thank you all. Thank you, Jackie, for your time. And then on to Director's Report.
All right, thank you. Let's see, there were a number of items in the packet. One of them has progressed since I wrote this, which is the engineering standards on Monday night. Were approved by the City Council unanimously. And I just want to thank staff, both in tech services as well as water resource, as well as other departments who engaged in this activity. Engineering standards are helpful for the city in a number of ways, making sure that investments either made by developers or by the city or even homeowners working on their water or sewer laterals are replacing assets to the city's standard to make sure that our streets and rights of way are well maintained. It's also going to be helpful, and this is likely going to be an item that will come to you in subsequent months, is that we have a number of streets in the city of Burlington that are unaccepted. These are private streets. These are streets that are maintained by the properties along them. And there has been interest in some of these streets to have them accepted by the city. With these engineering standards, we now have the foundation on which to say that you need to reconstruct or prove to us that the streets are built to standard before the city will take them over, to make sure that the city is not taking over a liability for the rest of the taxpayers. So we will be talking about this in coming months, but a big success. There's updates on the North Plant siphon repair, and we are all holding our breath to make sure that this high water flood event does not damage our recently repaired siphon under the Winooski River. So far, so good. And in the back of my director's report is the detail on the North Winooski Avenue survey that the City Council Transportation, Energy, and Utilities Committee asked us to complete. In our mind, at staff's mind, it indicates that there's a general understanding that the new configuration is functional and safer than the previous design, and we will continue to work with the Community Health Center on off-street parking. And we also had, at the TUC meeting last night, Transportation, Energy, and Utilities Committee meeting, a good presentation on the Winooski River Bridge project, which we are really excited to work with the City of Winooski, VTrans, and our federal partners to construct in a way that will add much more robust bike and pedestrian facilities, as well as a bridge that will last another 100 years, as this current bridge is a relic of the 1927 flood, replaced soon after. So those are my updates. Happy to answer any questions. Now we're in the commissioner section. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Mutano, we'll start with you. Any questions on the director's report?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of interested in that private street to public street conversion. Is that something that that is going on? Is that at this point, obviously the city can't impel the property owners to maintain their private property to this standard, but is anyone interested in giving up their right of way to the city, and how does that happen really?
Right. There is a dedication and acceptance process where the private entity that owns it, whether it's a collection of property owners or one property owner on which the land was subdivided, would need to dedicate, and the city then would need to accept, pending our agreement that the street is up to standard. We have had many conversations over time. We have the most recently accepted street was Franklin Square, which was maybe 2 years ago. There have been ongoing discussions about Chittenden Drive and Iranistan, which are interconnected streets on the south end. We do, for plowing purposes, plow those streets because they are part of the grid and are more helpful for us to use them to reach other streets. So it is a complicated situation where there are private streets in the city, and yet there may be some level of public maintenance activities on them. So this is an area that needs renewed attention and is a decades-old issue that now with the engineering standards we can more clearly address.
So then there are private streets that are not explicitly marked as private. Like Iranistan Avenue, for example, that is a compliant, street sign that is, it appears to be a public street. Like, yeah. But, so how many miles do you reckon altogether are private streets in the city?
I don't have that number on hand, but my
About a mile, like
is
two?
that we have approximately 24 streets in the city that are unaccepted.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that.
Most of which are cul-de-sac, dead-end streets.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Sears, any questions?
No. Thank you for the report. I appreciated the survey results. Those are so interesting to read.
Yeah.
Thanks for including that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Barr.
Thank you. I just have one question, and it also pertains to the private streets. Will one of the standards be that it must be paved? I'm just curious, because there are some private lanes that are still gravel.
Yes. That is a good question. If the rest of the infrastructure, I would need to check with the city engineer.
Okay.
Clearly, for paved streets are much easier for us to maintain, but there are some very low traffic streets. I know we spend an inordinate amount of resource trying to maintain the few dirt roads that we have in the city. Intervale Road, North Avenue Extension. So my understanding is our strong preference is that we want to accept streets that are paved and are built to city standard.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox.
Yeah, thanks for the report. The thing I wanted to bring up was the Great Streets, Main Street project. Just because at our November meeting, you're still sort of like reviewing the bids, and so I guess I'm just wondering if you could walk us through briefly sort of like what happened and now it's being phased. So what's the plan to get phase 2 actually implemented? Are there any like creative cost savings or like alternative infrastructure ideas for phase two to make it less expensive. Yeah, just because all of that happened super quickly and it was during Thanksgiving holiday time. And so, yeah, just if you could just provide a little more of an update on that would be great.
Oh, thank you very much, Commissioner Fox. Happy to talk about that. And I did gloss over that one, and there's been a lot of work over the last month. So when we received the bids for the Great Streets Main Street project, the low bid came in 50% higher than the engineer's estimate, which unfortunately is not been unusual. I know Winooski, when they bid their Main Street project, came in, I believe, 30+% over the engineer's estimate. The Champlain Parkway came in, I think, 47% over engineer's estimate with the inflationary environment. Coming out of COVID, we've been seeing a very tough bid environment. So staff had to work quickly and through a lot of negotiations with the contractor to come up with a phased construction plan. Instead of the 6 blocks that we've previously discussed, the plan is to deal with the ravine sewer, which is a critical foundational element to allow redevelopment along this corridor, and 3 blocks of Main Street from Winooski down to Pine Street. That leaves the top block up by Memorial. The justification there is to wait for the redevelopment of Memorial to make sure that the streetscape well interfaces with the redevelopment of that property or the renovation of that property if that's found to be feasible. And then the bottom 2 blocks will also need to be a second phase. We are going to be applying for federal grants as they come up. The lower 2 blocks are in a census tract that has disadvantaged households and such that we think we can get a potential 100% or 90 or 80% federal grant, which would minimize our local match. And we are going to have to figure this out. It's suboptimal, especially for the off-street bike network that we're developing as part of this project. So we are trying to figure out how we would develop an interim connection for the bike route while we work to raise money for phase 2. So we did have a business meeting, 2 business meetings last week on the 14th, I believe, of December. Thanks to the BBA for helping to organize one of those. And, you know, there is concern here about both the impact from construction and how we're going to get the full project done. So we're not out of the woods, but I think we have a pragmatic path forward. There are projects that are waiting and depending on this. The VFW project, which is going to develop dozens of affordable housing units where the old VFW is on South Winooski. The building and parking lot of that project are over the ravine sewer. And in redeveloping that property, it's not optimal to put a building over an active sewer, especially one that's 140, 50 years old and is built with bricks and rocks. So this project, Main Street, Great Streets, is really a critical element of this type of redevelopment in the city. Is that what you were looking for, Commissioner Fox?
Yes, thank you. I think, yeah, I mean, just a lot happened and it was really hard for me to even keep up with. So yeah, I was just looking for, that summary. So thank you. And, you know, as disappointing as it is, right, it's encouraging to hear that the department is looking at those federal grant opportunities. And so, yeah, I mean, it's sort of like having to take one step at a time and also a million steps. I don't know. So yeah, thanks. Was just looking for an update on that piece of it. Yeah, that was the only question I had on this item.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Hogan.
There, thank you. On the Main Streets phasing in the top blocks there, it has occurred to me that maybe there's a possible opportunity. It seemed like we had a small leash carefully outlined for us by the downtown TIF district.
Right.
That went no cut off at Union. I was glad to see originally that the intersection with Union was in the plans, but
Correct.
no further, leaving it, certainly short of some key institutions at the elementary, middle school, UVM, et cetera. So like,
That's a good point.
network-wise, it was always going to be kind of a dead end from the safe infrastructure heading east perspective. Maybe there's an opportunity, for, in the conversations, I understand it's not going to be like tomorrow.
Right.
We don't want to have to wait 20 years to the magical pot of money to do it, but maybe we can go further up the hill.
It's
With
a great
that next
point.
bucket of money.
And it is a conversation that staff have had, that TIF, tax increment financing, really limited where we could improve Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
And with federal funding, we can potentially go further uphill eastward, but also further westward. The TIF was limited to Battery Street, and Main Street does continue down around Union Station down to College Street, and that last block really connects to the waterfront. So there's opportunities on both ends.
Yeah,
Thank you.
looking on the bright side here.
Yep.
That's great. I'm super excited to see the middle section proceeding. We'll look forward to that. I'm still digesting the Winooski survey results, but thanks for including that. Just a quick visualization comment off the bat here, that pie charts tend to be, they tend to confuse the message in that you can't directly compare the values that are shown there
Mm-hmm.
for what it's worth.
Okay. Yep.
It's hard to sort of visually scan these things if there's no way to compare across.
We did notice that the pie charts, the report in the packet had wonky formatting, wonky being the technical term. So we did post up on the website a cleaner version of the survey. That may help a little bit, but I understand the other point you're making.
Yeah, I understand. We're all working with limited resources here. But, yeah, I look forward to giving that a good look over later.
Great.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I like bars instead of pie charts, but thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, I think Main Street, Great Streets, while it's really, it is disappointing, when you talk through the ravine and what we really need to do, I think that is, again, infrastructure. It's like the hole in your sock. You don't think about it until your toe is poking out. And if we can address that ravine, then we look at some other, kind of future development pieces like Memorial, like the VFW site. So I'm glad we're moving forward with that piece. And I guess my only question right now is not related to that, but on the North Plant and the high water. I kept waiting to hear that we were going to have some water issue. So I probably checked my Public Works Commission email way more frequently in the past few hours the past few days with the flooding, and happy to see that there were no alerts. Do you have a sense if we are seem like we crested? Are we out of the woods? Will there be any testing? Or is there a way to kind of click the box and see that we made it through, or the repair made it through this kind of horrible amount of rain?
Yes, thank you. I do want to amplify your message that staff worked over the weekend and through Monday to operate a number of pump stations and repair some pump stations during the storm to keep our wastewater running as it should. And we had no discharges during the storm. And if you get the reports from around the state like I do, there were 15 or 20 wastewater plants around the state, all with experiences and issues or combined sewer overflows. And I cut my shower short on Monday morning when the rain was really coming down, because I happen to live in the Pine Street CSO sewer shed. And, I like to think that, turning my shower off was the difference that saved the CSO. But we had no CSOs during that storm event, which is a real feather in all of our caps as we build green infrastructure, as we clean our systems and really plan for a better future. That said, we're not out of the woods yet on the high river water for the siphon, and we'll continue to monitor that. A small break will create a situation where we will notice volume differences at the plant very quickly. We have not noticed that yet. We may do a dye test after the storm. We do dye tests every once or twice a year to make sure that the siphon is in good shape. So,
Thank you. I really feel like, 3-5 years ago, we would have really expected some discharge. So kudos to our ratepayers, to the commission, and certainly to Water Division for the investments that we kind of collectively have made in our infrastructure. I think moments like this are really telling that, again, I know we're not out of the woods, but that at least hopefully most of it's behind us. So thanks. All right, that's director's report. We'll close that out. Any commissioner communications? Commissioner Barr, I'll start with you. Sorry.
I always have to say something. So, I just wanted to say, and this is the city as a whole, not just Public Works, but the Old East End part of Ward 1 has been working hard to redo our park and make it a more welcoming place. So we just put in a large kiosk, and nobody got hurt. So it was good. It was a 400-pounder, but it's in the ground. So if you're going down Grove Street and Patchen Road, take a look towards the park, and you can see it. And we are working through to get an ice rink up there too. So I just wanted to put that out there, that Parks and Rec are going to help with that maintaining of it. So, but other than that, things are great, and I'm just looking forward to a great winter.
I will say that the City Council did just approve on Monday night the MOU with the Old East End organization that you all will buy the radar speed feedback sign with grant funds, and that the city, after a year, will spread that resource around the rest of the city. Nice job. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great, thank you. Let's just move down the table there. Commissioner Hogan.
Thanks. Speaking of speed feedback signs, still interested to learn more about the data on Locust Street. Just saying that as a reminder to myself out loud. I'll follow up by email afterwards. I see, obviously, there's radar speed backs. The one that's facing downhill is pretty high up the hill, and it's probably long forgotten by the time they're going through more residential heavy zone in the park and stuff.
Yeah, we did do some speed data collection there with tubes this year, and can share that information with you.
That'd be great. Thanks. Also, on the storm the other day, reminded I had to hustle back for a meeting, but I was tempted to. I really wanted to go out with like a metal rake and clear out some storm drains, but just want to put a plug in again to try to get. I don't know if that would be a good opportunity for high schoolers that are looking to put some volunteer hours on something to like adopt a storm drain program. Could be very useful for us. I think I did see a city staff truck out, sort of monitoring and cleaning up some stuff as well. But it was a lot to deal with, as you know, and it brought it brings out opportunities for improved drainage. get it
Localized
timely.
flooding, yes.
Yeah. Nothing further here. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mutano.
Yeah, definitely kudos to all the city workers and everyone around here that's actually doing the work to, I don't know, make this place work. Yeah, I was kind of surprised Monday when I was walking down from lunch on North Prospect Street, right at Waterman. There was quite a few inches of kind of moving water, and there was actually kind of bubbling out of the storm drain. So I'm glad to hear that there were no major issues moving at all different parts of the city. How was the Pine Street sort of section? I know a lot of times in the summer, that's one place where it's actually difficult to get by on a bicycle on a really rainy day or even after the rain. So how is the new earthworks looking in that section, just I guess north of Lakeside, where there's been a lot of work this summer and fall?
Yes, new catch basins have been installed, and the road will get even more of an enhanced crown once the final coat of pavement is on top. So drainage will be much better when the parkway is done. As you know, we don't have the full curb in, so that's not steering the rain to the drop inlets the way you'd expect once the project is complete. So it will be better. It's probably a mix of better and areas of not so good during the winter. Your first comment about North Prospect or South Prospect is an interesting one. If I could just jump in and say what you were noticing was a stormwater tank that's underneath the road that is there to protect stormwater and not have the combined sewer system flush as quickly. And so there is a large detention tank under South Winooski, and it did surcharge a bit during the last storm, and we were monitoring it, but it did not damage the pavement as it had in the past. We put in some pressure relief design elements, and it worked as it should.
Fantastic. And I guess kind of circling back to the parking item, I understand, well, we heard in the summer there was a lot of talk regarding the Main Street project and about the way parking was all gonna happen, during that construction and then after the fact phase. Is that data gonna be included in our discussions going into the winter regarding, rate changes for on-street parking and sort of more forward-looking changes that the commission is looking to include? And is there a way that we could maybe see the data, right? Kind of get an overview of all the data that we have currently to make that best decision going forward.
We can certainly share the Main Street data, and yes, that is information that we will be using as well as more recent counts to inform our decisions.
Right on. That was a lot of work too. Like that was really really amazing to see, and yeah, really kind of I guess integrating everything is really what I think would be best as we have this time, and there's certainly a lot of changes going on. So thank you to everyone that's been working on that. It's really been fantastic.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sears.
I don't have any communications.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox.
Okay. So one quick thing, I'm glad Director Spencer brought up the Winooski Burlington Bridge project. Just wanted to flag that the project is doing a travel survey right now. It's super quick. So just flagging that is out there in the ether. And then, this is a sort of a random thing, but I thought I would bring it up. I'm wondering, does the city have any and maybe this is included in the engineering standards, I don't know, but probably not. What the standards are for installing rapid flashing beacons at mid-block crosswalks. I don't know. Y'all know I live on North Ave, and every other mid-block crosswalk is a rapid flashing beacon, and those ones that are not, like at Strong Street by the Boardman Fire Station, when there are parked cars on the west side of North Ave, it's impossible for drivers to see a pedestrian at that crosswalk. So yeah, I don't know, just thinking about rapid flashing beacons.
Great. You should, yes, you should put in a request. We do have a standards document that talks about warrants for RFBs, and we'd be happy to review the warrants for that crossing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else, Commissioner Fox?
No, that's it.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. My only comment, believe it or not, is thank you for changing the signs on South Prospect Street from speed cushion to, I think they're now speed bump or speed hump. I appreciate that. I think it's a little more accurate representation of what a driver might be encountering. So that's it. And thanks to the crews for getting out the salt this morning. It was like a sheet of ice. And when I started walking the dog and when I came back, I saw the sidewalk plows had gone through. So grateful for the crew's work on that. And that's it. So that closes Commissioner Communications. And let's move to close the meeting, adjourn the meeting.
Motion
Is
to
there a
adjourn?
motion?
Second.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Anyone want to? All right. Great. 7:32.
I think Holly wants to.